What's up guys, and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, my name is Amanda and I'm a cruelty-free travel YouTuber. For today's video, I wanted to do a full face using one brand, and today that brand is going to actually be Milani. Now Milani is a very affordable cruelty-free brand that actually has a very special place in my heart. There's a lot of products of theirs that I really like a lot and have been using for a very long time. In fact, way before I even started my YouTube channel, but there's also a lot of products that I've never used before, so it's going to be kind of a blend of some of my favorites but also a little bit of first impressions. So if that's something that interests you, keep on watching. First things first, let's start with primer. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely hate this primer. I do. It is Milani Prime Shield Face Primer Mattifying. I think it smells like, I don't know, like paint, except worse, if that's even a thing. I don't know. It just smells super bad and I just don't like it. I don't like the way it feels on my skin. I don't like the way that it makes my makeup look. I feel like it makes it look super cakey and like not matte at all. Honestly, I feel like it doesn't really help to make my makeup last that much longer. So this is definitely a no-go for me. So I know I said that I was gonna be doing a full face with exclusively Milani products, but this is the only thing I will not be using today that is Milani. And instead, we're going to be using the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Primer. This is actually a primer that I really like a lot, which is kind of unusual because I have super oily skin. But I actually really like this primer a lot. It has been a staple in my collection for quite a while now, and I've used it in a few different videos of mine. Even though it's not mattifying, I think it still makes the skin look really pretty when you put the makeup over top of it. Now for the foundation, I'm going to be using Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation. So I have two shades here. I have the 00B Light and I have the 04 Medium Beige. This is not marketed as a mattifying foundation. Now that being said, I feel like this could be a good foundation for the oily skin girls that are in cooler climates that maybe struggle with dry skin during the winter time. I don't think this would probably last that well in the superhuman months. So I guess it really just depends on what your skin concerns are. This is really honestly a very popular foundation, so I wouldn't be hesitant to give it a try at the very least. It's very inexpensive, so it could potentially really work for you, but if it doesn't, it's not like you're out a ridiculous amount of money. I'm gonna go ahead and really quickly do my primer and my foundation, and then we will go from there. First, taking a small amount of primer, I'm applying it with my fingertips and gently rubbing it into my skin. Next, taking the foundation in both shades, I'm using a sponge and blending the foundation all over my face. I don't normally put foundation on my under eye, but since this is a foundation concealer combo, I wanted to see how it looked. So that is the primer and the foundation, and I feel like it looks really pretty. The coverage looks really nice. It doesn't look super heavy. It doesn't look super cakey. So next up, we are going to use the Conceal and Perfect concealer. So this concealer was actually relatively new to me. It is your typical kind of doe foot application. So this is the 01 Translucent Light to Medium Make It Last Setting Powder. This seems like a relatively newer product. I don't remember seeing this when I had originally purchased most of my Milani products. I have really high hopes for this because the packaging, first of all, is very nice. From what I can tell when I opened it, it seemed like the powder is very fine, so it can really set a lot of different things that you would like to use this for. So I'm going to go ahead and do my concealer and my powder. Taking the concealer, I'm applying it to my under eye. Using the same sponge from before, I'm blending it out. Okay, so the concealer is on. Honestly, I feel like it looks pretty good. It blended out pretty well. The coverage is nice. It's not overly heavy, but it is still definitely doing what a concealer should do. For the price point so far, I think it really doesn't look too bad. Taking my setting powder, I'm going to set my concealer using a Real Techniques setting brush. So that is the concealer with the setting powder. Honestly, I kind of really like this setting powder a lot. I feel like it is super fine, and it literally just like, I don't know, I feel like it just went really beautifully on the skin. Overall, I think it looks pretty good, and considering this is a drugstore brand and very affordable, I think this setting powder is really, really nice. And I'm going to go ahead and do my full face of the powder. Now, I have been using the Conceal and Perfect powder for quite a long time. As you can tell, I have hit pan on both of the shades. I have 03 Natural Light and I have 01 Fair. These, as you can see, have been a staple in my makeup collection for quite a while, and I do like them a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that on, and we will move on to the next step. Using a Real Techniques fluffy brush, I'm dipping it into my powder and applying it lightly all over my face to set the rest of my makeup. So that is it for the primer, foundation, concealer, and powder. And I feel like my skin really looks nice. I feel like it looks really pretty. It doesn't look super heavy. It doesn't look super cakey. I'm gonna go ahead and do my contour. So I couldn't really technically find a specific contour Milani product. So technically I'm gonna be breaking the makeup rules and using a bronzer as my contour. So I have their Sunkissed bronzer in the shade 02 Sunkissed, and then I have the 09 De Leche baked bronzer, and this will have a little bit of shimmer in it. So I'm going to go ahead and go in with the matte bronzer, see how that applies to the skin. I have not used this. This is a new product that I recently got. The one thing I did like about this bronzer is that it doesn't come with one of those extra brushes that everybody hates and nobody uses, and I don't know why they still include them. I really wish that makeup brands would like stop including those terrible brushes. It's just, it creates so much extra waste that we don't need. Just stop putting them in there. We don't need them. And if you're using them, please stop. Get a good brush. I promise there are so many brushes out there that will be way higher quality, that are inexpensive, and will give you way better results than those garbage brushes that they include in there. Why? Just no. Just no. So moving along, I'm gonna go ahead and go in with that bronzer like I said, and we will move on to the next step. Using the matte bronzer, I'm adding some contour to my cheeks, under my jaw, and on my forehead near my hairline. Okay, wow. First of all, this is gorgeous. It blended out beautifully. The texture is absolutely stunning. I feel like this is gonna be one of my favorite products. This looks so good. And in person, it looks even prettier. I feel like it just looks so nice. I am absolutely here for it. I almost feel like I could have gotten a darker shade, but I feel like if I went in and kind of just added a little bit more, I feel like it's definitely buildable and definitely very blendable. I'm gonna go in and maybe do just a titch of the baked bronzer, maybe on my forehead, to kind of see how that compares to the other bronzer that I just used. Now this one does have a little bit of shimmer in it, not a lot at all. So I can definitely tell that it is adding some shimmer to my forehead. I definitely am noticing more texture where I've added a little bit more bronzer too. I'm not usually as big of a fan of shimmery bronzers. I haven't really noticed much of a change other than a little bit of shimmer. This isn't really super dark compared to what I have. I don't know, I can't really tell much of a difference from where I've added the baked bronzer, so I'm gonna do quick swatches of them both. So this is gonna be the Silky Matte. I'm looking pretty pale, so this should show up pretty well. So that is the Silky Matte bronzer. Oh my god, it feels so good on the skin. Now I will say the baked bronzer definitely feels a little bit more dry. Doesn't feel quite so creamy. So this Oh yeah, wow. Okay, that's much lighter. So you can definitely tell that the Silky Matte is much more pigmented. And when I was swatching it, it definitely felt much creamier as well. I would definitely go with the Silky Matte. I feel like this is much prettier, much more pigmented. I feel like you'd have to be really super pale for this to show up, because I'm really quite pale right now, and I feel like this isn't showing up nearly as well as the Silky Matte is. I'm kind of disappointed in the bronzer for the Baked. I really had high hopes for this because I love the Baked blush so much, and it just kind of really fell short for me. So I'm really not feeling this one as much. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to blush. So Milani actually has two different types of blushes. So they have the Baked blush. Now this is the Luminoso 05, and it has been in my collection for a very long time. So this is probably one of my all-time favorite blushes ever, and it has a little bit of shimmer to it, if you can kind of tell. Not a lot, but some, and I think it's just such a pretty color. And of course it does come with this brush, which was one of those brushes I wish they wouldn't, because it's garbage and it sucks and no one uses it, so let's just not even pretend that exists. And they also have these rose blushes. Now this is 11 Blossom Time Rose. Now this is just your standard powder blush, and it really honestly kind of looks like a rose petal. It's super, super pretty. I have not used this blush before, so we're gonna kind of see how it looks. Now this does have quite a bit of shimmer in it, more so than I thought there was going to be, so I don't really know how I feel about that. I was kind of hoping this would be more of just a true blush without any kind of like shimmer in it. And from the picture that I saw online, I thought it was going to be a little bit darker as well, and this is pretty light, so we're going to see how this works out. So I'm going to do the rose blush on one side of my face, and then I'm going to do the Baked blush on the other side. And I also do have another shade of the Baked blush, and it is called Peach Bellini. Now honestly, I don't really like this blush that much because it is just so much shimmer. I feel like it is just way shimmery, and for me personally, I prefer blushes that aren't quite so blush highlighter combo. If I want a highlighter, I want a highlighter. If I want a blush, I want a blush. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you want kind of a highlighter blush combo, then this could be a really great product for you. As you can tell, the blush aspect of it I think is really pretty. It's just quite shimmery, but again, if that's something that you're looking for, this could be really good for you. Like I said, I'm gonna do one side with the kind of rose petal blush, and the other one I'm going to be using my all-time favorite, the Luminoso Baked blush. Using the rose petal blush first for my left cheek, and Luminoso for my right. So this one definitely didn't show up as well as I thought it was going to. I think it looks really pretty on the skin. I just feel like it's just a little bit too shimmery and not quite as much blush as I would have preferred. So I feel like if I had gone with a darker shade of this blush, it would probably be a little bit better, but sometimes it's kind of hard to tell online exactly what the shades are going to look like. So keep that in mind. If you want something to have a little bit of more oomph to it, I would suggest probably going with a darker shade. And then of course this is the Luminoso. It definitely has more kind of pigment to it. I feel like this one I didn't really have to go back in with like I did with this one, and you can definitely tell this is more shimmery with a little bit of color. This is definitely more pink with some shimmer. I probably will still repurchase this, except maybe in a different color. I definitely think it's blendable and it's very pretty and feels nice on the skin. I'm just not so hip on the color. So I'm gonna do 3 swatches of each color of the blushes so you can really see how they look compared to each other. And then we will move on to highlighter and then kind of do a little bit on my eyes. So I'm gonna do the quick 3 swatches. First, I'm going to go ahead and do that rose petal blush swatch. So it definitely looks really pretty. It's just a little bit too pale for my skin, I guess. But it is definitely a very pretty pink. And if you want something that's a little bit softer, not quite as loud of a blush, this could be a good option for you. So this is the Luminoso. Like I said, this has been a staple for me for a very long time. And you can already kind of tell that this is a little bit darker of a blush. So for me, the Luminoso is more of what I would gear towards because I prefer a more prominent blush or a very kind of tan, bronzy kind of looking blush, but with a tint of pink. I think that can be really pretty. And then for my third blush, I have that Peach Bellini. Like I said, this is very shimmery. Very, very shimmery. It has a lot of gold to it, but again, it's still really pretty. It's just way shimmery for me. I will be getting a different shade of the Rose Petal blush just to kind of try that out and see how I like it, because I do like the formula. I think it went on really pretty on the skin and has a lot of potential. So that is the 3 blushes that I currently have. That is the blush. So I'm going to go ahead and go in with a highlighter. Now I am going to use a little bit of powder to kind of tone down some of the shimmer from the blushes so you can really see the highlighters a little bit better. So we're going to kind of use this to kind of tone that down a little bit so I can kind of add my own highlighter and see how those look. I do have 2 different types, just like with the blush. I have a baked highlighter. This is a relatively new product. This is 110 in the shade Dolce Perla. I feel like that's probably wrong, but whatever. And then I have the Strobe Light Sunset Glow 05, and this is kind of a more standard, just your regular highlighter. As you can tell, this one's definitely a little bit lighter, and this is kind of a more golden tone, so I'm going to go ahead and swatch those so you can kind of see what those both look like. Okay, so that's quite highlighted. I think that looks really, really pretty. It definitely gives a nice little glow without being super overpowering. In person, I think it looks pretty nice, and it seems to be blending out relatively well just with the swatch. I think that looks really, really nice. So next I'm going to go in with the Sunset Glow. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch that next to the other one. Oh wow, yeah, that's definitely way gold. That's way darker. So both of them definitely look really shimmery, but this one, as you can tell, is way darker, and I would say probably much more pigmented as well, but this would be more for someone that wants more of a kind of full glam, I want my cheek to look wet kind of highlighter, and this one would be, I want just a little bit of a glow, I just wanted to kind of, you know, have a little bit of highlight but not be super overpowering. So again, this would kind of be a product that would be personal preference. Like, do you want something that looks more natural? Do you want something that looks super glam? Both are definitely very buttery and swatched really, really well. And this one's definitely going to be a little bit, goes a long way. Otherwise your cheek's going to look wet, but I know that's pretty popular these days. So really just, again, depends on what you're looking for. So just like with the blush, I'm going to do one side with one highlighter and I'm going to do one side with the other highlighter to kind of compare and contrast. I do have a little bit of glow just from the blushes, but like I said, I did put some powder on there to kind of tone that down. So we'll see what the highlighters look like in just a second. Using the baked highlighter first for my left cheek and the Strobe Light for the right. Okay, so that is the highlighter. Honestly, I really like both a lot. It really just depends, again, on your personal preference. Do you want something that's just giving you some shimmer but not super overpowering but still very pretty highlight? Or do you want something that's basically making your cheek look wet? You want it to be super blinding, super pigmented. I feel like some days you want just a little bit of highlight. Some days you want to be full glam. So again, I think both of these are both very, very pretty. Next, I think I'm going to go ahead and do my eyebrows. Now, I don't typically do my eyebrows because, I mean, look at these things. It already looks like I have product in them and I don't. So I'm not really the best at doing that like ombre, really pretty Instagram eyebrow because, I mean, you see what I'm working with. Like, they're basically already just eyebrows. So but I did still want to try this out anyways, and this is the Brunette 04 Stay Put Brow Color. I have heard that this is a dupe for the Anastasia brow product. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. So eventually when I do that video, I will link it somewhere in the description below. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to do my eyebrows and see how this works out, because like I said, I don't do my brows very often, and I feel like it's a very fine line between being done and overdone, and when I'm working with what I got, I feel like that line is extra fine. So we're gonna see how they turn out and hopefully not be overdone. Taking the Milani brow tool and the Stay Put brow color, I'm filling in my eyebrows. So that is the eyebrows. I definitely feel like this one went over that fine line that I mentioned. This one definitely looks a little bit more natural. I don't know, but you know, it's fine, it's whatever. So overall, I think that this is definitely pretty nice. I do like that it comes in like a little pot and has the little brush with it, because I feel like that gives you more control over how much product you're applying. Even though this one is definitely a little too much, but like I said, I'm not an expert at doing brows, but I definitely like that this gives you quite a bit more control versus something like kind of like a pencil or a crayon or whatever, you know, like where it like is a little twist up, kind of like an eyeliner, and then you draw it in. I do prefer something more like this. So next thing I'm gonna be doing is my eyeshadow primer. Now this primer I have used for quite a long time. This is a staple as well. Like I said, there was a few products by Milani that I really liked a lot, and this is one of them. A little bit definitely goes a long way, and there is a little bit of a tint to it. Not a lot, but if you're super pale or maybe a very dark-skinned girl, this might not work for you, but for me it works out perfectly. Like I said, a little bit goes a long way. It definitely keeps my lids from getting super oily. I don't think it's pigmented enough to really kind of give you too much color, so if you are a darker or lighter skinned girl, I don't think this would make it so you couldn't use it. You may have to use maybe a skin toned eyeshadow, which I already do anyways as a transition shade. Overall though, I do think this is a really good eyeshadow primer, and it is a staple in my collection. So that is it on the eyeshadow primer. I'm going to go ahead and go in with my Gilded Gold eyeshadow palette. So this was actually a palette that I picked up online, and when I first saw it, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so stunning. I have used this once before, just briefly. As you can tell, it has been swatched, kind of played with a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and get started with that and do a step-by-step tutorial of the makeup look. I'm gonna keep it pretty simple, pretty quick today, because the eyeshadow look is not the focus of this video. So we're just gonna kind of do an everyday look with this palette. Using the shade Extra Basic on an E25, I'm blending it out on the top half of my lid. Next, using Legacy on the same brush, I'm adding more color to the top half of my lid, blending it out. Next, using Eden on my fingertip, I'm adding some color to the bottom half of my lid. This was a tough color to work with, and when I tried to blend it out, it basically disappeared. This is the only color I had issues with. Next, taking Boss Lady on an E30, I added some shimmer to the inner corner, blending it up. And I added some to the outer corner as well, taking it up towards my eyebrow. So that is it for the eyeshadow look. Like I said, I wanted to keep it pretty simple, just, you know, use a few different colors, not go, you know, super crazy over the top or anything like that. So overall, I do think the colors blended out super, super well, and I think it looks very pretty. I did kind of expect a little bit more of payoff from Eden. I feel like when I started to blend it, it kind of just faded a little bit, but overall I think this palette is super, super stunning, and the metallics are actually really, really buttery and really just nice to play with and use on your eyes. This was a relatively inexpensive palette considering that it is a drugstore brand. I really like the color story a lot. There's only one color in here that I probably wouldn't use, and that's Ultra Gilded, which is basically like the gilded gold color, which this palette is probably named after, so that's kind of ironic, but I've never really been a big fan of gold. That would be one color that I probably wouldn't get much use out of, but all the other colors I think are really, really pretty. This is the whole palette swatched. So I'm going to go ahead and go in with my eyeliner. Typically I will use a liquid liner on the top and a non-liquid liner on the bottom. So this is the Milani Eye Tech liquid liner, and the one thing that I do like about this is that it's a little bit shorter, so it makes it really easy to travel with. However, one thing that I don't like is I feel like I constantly have to shake it up because it dries out pretty quickly, but the wearability of it and the application is still pretty nice, so that's the one downside is that it does dry out a little bit quicker. Now for the eyeliner, this is just like your standard pencil eyeliner. I really honestly like this a lot. I have used this a few different times and it's relatively inexpensive. It, like I said, is just your standard kind of eyeliner. It seems to be pretty pigmented. Of course, it is in the shade 01 Blackest Black. Black liner is pretty much the only eyeliner that I wear, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw that on, and then I will be doing my mascara after that. And I do have two mascaras as well. This is the Big and Bigger lashes, and then I have the Highly Rated mascara. Now, I really was not a big fan of the Big and Bigger lashes just because of the applicator. Like, it just seems so strange to me because there's like a whole chunk that's just missing the bristles, and they have a little bit of bristles on the end, and then there's like a flat part that's missing bristles as well. And I just don't like the way it feels when I'm putting it on. But the Highly Rated mascara, that seems to have more of a traditional kind of applicator. It's just like your standard mascara brush. Nothing special, nothing, you know, universal or anything like that. But typically for me, I have to be wearing fake lashes for you to be able to tell that I have eyelashes. So mascara just kind of gives me some color and makes it kind of look like I have eyelashes. But especially on camera, you're not going to be able to tell. But I will go ahead and do one eye with one mascara and one eye with the other, just so you can kind of compare and contrast and see which mascara may work better for you. Like I said, I don't have eyelashes hardly at all, so yeah, I mean, just kind of take it as what it is. So I will be going ahead and finishing up my eye look, and then we will move on to the next step. Using the Liquid Eye Tech Liner, I'm adding liner to the top lid. Using the Supreme Kohl Liner, I'm adding liner to the bottom lid. Next we have mascara. I'm using the Big and Bigger lashes first. For my other eye, I'm using the Highly Rated mascara. So that is it for the mascara. Of the two, like I said, I don't really like the brush of this one, or the applicator, whatever you want to call it. It just feels really weird when I apply it, and I just really don't like it. But I do really like this one a lot. I wouldn't say that this is like the greatest mascara of all time. It's not going to make it seem like you're wearing falsies when you're not. As you can see, I mean, you can't really see a huge difference, but in person I feel like you can see a little bit of a difference. This one actually kind of gave me some more volume and more definition than this one did, which is ironic because this one's supposed to be Big and Bigger lashes, and I don't feel like it really did that. But again, you're talking about someone that doesn't have eyelashes, so I pretty much have to wear falsies no matter what for you to be able to see it. Of the two, I would definitely say this would be my go-to over this one. So that is it on the mascara. Typically I would put on my setting spray before I put on mascara, but I kind of forgot. So I'm gonna put it on now. So this is the Milani Make It Last Matte Setting Spray. This is supposed to be a 16-hour wear with matte charcoal setting spray, oil control, mattify set. So we shall see. Now I do plan on doing a kind of battle of the drugstore setting sprays, because I feel like you really have to see how the makeup wears long term to really get a good idea of what the setting spray is like. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw this on anyways, just for the sake of using it. Okay, so first things first, it has a very nice fragrance to it. It's not overpowering, and it definitely does feel very nice on the skin. It has kind of a standard mist. I wouldn't say it's the finest mist. I think it could definitely be a little bit kind of more fine as you're spraying it all over your face, but I don't think it's bad. Like I said, I would definitely have to do a wear test to see how this really holds up, so I'm kind of on the fence about this for now. So for my lips, I absolutely love the Milani lipsticks. I think they are absolutely fantastic. I've had a couple of these lipsticks for quite a long time. They've been a staple for a while. Now these have kind of like, I don't know, they definitely have a scent to them, but I wouldn't know how else to describe it other than just really pleasant. They are very creamy lipsticks. I would say they're relatively long wearing and they are not drying whatsoever. They feel super, super nice on the lips. Now, when it comes to the packaging of the lipsticks, I feel like it's pretty standard as far as lipstick goes. You do kind of just twist it up like this. I do have quite a few, well, I shouldn't say quite a few, but I definitely have a few of their standard just kind of lipsticks. Just like with the eyeshadows, I am going to do swatches of all the colors that I currently have. I know there are a couple that are not currently available because I did get them for Halloween. I'm sure that they'll probably bring back some of the shades. I don't know if they'll bring back the exact shades, but I still want to swatch them for you just in case so you can kind of see what some of your options are. These are all my lipsticks swatched. Now for today, I'm kind of thinking, do I want to wear dark or do I want to do teddy bear? I'm thinking teddy bear. This is one of my newer ones, so I think I might use this one. Taking the shade Teddy Bear, I'm applying my lipstick. So like I said, they're super creamy and just really nice to apply. They feel really nice on the lips, and I feel like the pigmentation's definitely there, and I don't know, I just really like the lipsticks a lot. I think they're really pretty. All right, so this is the final look. I went ahead and just threw on some fake lashes just really quick so it would look like I, have eyelashes. So these are the Iredell Faux Mink lashes in the style 811. I actually wasn't able to find any eyelashes even on the Milani site, so I went ahead and just went with Iredell because I know they are a very affordable drugstore cruelty-free brand. So for the end of the video, I'm just gonna kind of really quickly go through the products once again, let you know what was a hit and what was a miss for me. So first things first, the foundation. I'm kind of on the fence about this foundation. There's a lot of things that I like about it and I think it could work for a lot of different people, but I feel like there's also kind of some downfalls to it. So if you have dry or kind of combo normal skin, I think it could work for you. If you have oily skin like I do, I think it could be a really great winter foundation. If you have really light skin tones, I think this could potentially make you look a little washed out and kind of emphasize any texture that you might have. If you're a little bit on the darker side, I don't think it's going to amplify the texture that you may or may not have or look as cakey as the lighter skin tones look. So I would definitely say at least give this foundation a chance. It's super inexpensive and they have a decent shade range from what I could tell online. I don't think this should be written off. I think you should at least give it a chance. It may work for you, and if it doesn't, it's not like it's a super expensive foundation. So that is my thoughts on the foundation. Now with the powders, like we talked about, I've used these for a really long time. As you could tell, I have hit pan on them, so they are definitely very loved. And once I finally run out, I will be repurchasing them in the future. Now for the highlighters, I do think that the highlighters are really, really nice, and it really just depends on what you're looking for. For the baked highlighter, it's going to be a much more subtle highlight versus the strobe light. This is going to be a much more kind of wet look for a highlighter. I think both definitely have their applications and both have, their strong points. It really, again, just depends on what you're looking for. So A+ on these. Now when it comes to the blushes, they all do have shimmers in them, even with the rose petal blush. I kind of was disappointed. I was hoping this was going to be a little bit more matte and a little bit more pigmented. I do think it's still very pretty, so I will be giving this another chance with a different shade. And with the Peach Bellini, if you want something that is super pink and really shimmery and you kind of want a 2-in-1 blush, this could be a really good option for you. For me, it's just a little bit too much shimmer, so I probably would not repurchase this again. Luminoso will always have a place in my makeup collection. Now when it comes to the setting powder and the concealer, I really liked both of these a lot actually. I feel like the setting powder was really, really nice and looked really pretty on the skin and definitely helped to set the concealer. And the concealer's application, coverage, and blendability was really, really nice too. So when it comes to the bronzers, I wasn't really a big fan of the baked bronzer, which was kind of disappointing because I had really high hopes for it, but it just doesn't really have the pigmentation that I was looking for. So I'm gonna have to say no on this one. I will definitely try and use it up, but it's not something that I would repurchase. Now when it comes to their other bronzer, the Silky Matte Bronzer, this I really liked a lot. I think it looks super pretty on the skin. It blended out really beautifully, and it just looked really, really nice and applied really, really well. And of course, I really do still love my Milani eyeshadow primer. I still have a ton left because a little bit goes such a long way. But when I do run out, I will definitely be repurchasing this because I really like it a lot. I feel like my eyeshadow just lasts so much longer and just applies so much better when I have this on versus when I don't. As I mentioned, when it came to the mascaras, I was not a big fan of the bigger and bigger lashes mascara, but I do like the highly rated mascara. Of the two, I would probably repurchase this. I don't really go through a ton of mascara though, so I don't know if maybe there will be something that I'm gonna come across later that I like better, but for now I really do like this one a lot. As I mentioned, when it comes to the lipsticks, these are absolutely my favorite and they will not be leaving my makeup collection anytime soon, so A+ on the lipsticks. I feel like this is something that you really have to do a wear test with, and I won't be doing a wear test for this video, so this will actually be in a separate video where I'm going to be breaking down multiple setting sprays and seeing which one comes out on top. Same thing with the brows. I don't really do my brows that often, but I do like the control that this gives you, and I will be doing a video where I'm kind of comparing and contrasting setting sprays and seeing which one comes out on top. Same thing with the brows. I don't really do my brows that often, but I do like the control that this gives you, and I will be doing a video where I'm kind of comparing and contrasting this one versus the Anastasia Beverly Hills. And then I think that's everything. Oh, that's right. We forgot about her. No. Don't do it. I kind of went out of order with the products when I was doing my final thoughts, but hey, you know what? That's okay. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. If you're new here, consider subscribing and becoming part of our Black Sheep fam, and we will see you on the next one.